There is this very specific, very dangerous moment that happens to pretty much every pet owner. You walk into the pet store,
Mm-hmm.
you're there for the essentials, maybe a bag of kibble, some poop bags, the boring stuff. But then you drift.
Oh, yeah.
You end up in the toy aisle,
Yeah.
and suddenly you are surrounded by these bright neon colors, squeaky hedgehogs, bacon-scented bubbles.
It's the Vegas Strip of the pet world. I mean, it is designed to be visually overwhelming and, frankly, emotionally manipulative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see something and think, oh, Buster would lose his absolute mind for this. It feels like this pure act of love. You just want to spoil him. But we have got a huge stack of reports here today from veterinary surgeons, from Texas A&M, from clinical nutritionists that suggest that aisle is actually, well, it's kind of a minefield.
It is. It really is. And it's a minefield because of a massive misconception that I think most people have. We assume that if it's on a shelf in a store, it must be safe. If you buy a toy for a human toddler, there are rigorous federal safety standards. You know exactly what's in the plastic. You know the choking hazards are labeled.
And that's not true for dogs.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. There is a massive regulatory gap. The pet toy industry is essentially the Wild West.
The Wild West, wow.
Yeah, there is no FDA for squeaky toys. So the safety inspector, that's you. You have to be the regulator.
That is a terrifying thought, honestly. But that is the mission for this deep dive. We're going to take these veterinary reports and turn you into a forensic detective in the pet aisle.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at the actual chemistry of these chew toys, the hidden caloric math of treats, which, by the way, the numbers there are shocking, and how to read a label like a board-certified nutritionist.
We're moving from, that looks cute, to, is this chemically and physically safe for my pet?
Okay, so let's start with the behavior itself, the chewing. I think a lot of us have been there.
Yeah.
You buy the expensive, indestructible toy, and 5 minutes later, your living room looks like a snow globe of stuffing. It feels personal.
It does.
Is the dog angry? Are they acting out?
No, and this is the first mindset shift. The dog isn't angry. The dog is a scientist. They are doing research.
Research.
Think about it. We have hands with incredibly sensitive fingertips to manipulate and understand objects. Dogs don't have that. They investigate the world with their mouths. Chewing is how they gather data about their environment. Texture, taste, durability, it's all information.
So when they're ripping the head off Mr. Squirrel, they're just learning.
Aggressively learning, yes. And the why changes based on the dog. If you've got a puppy, it's pain relief, teething is uncomfortable. If you have an anxious dog, chewing actually releases endorphins. It's self-soothing.
And what about for just a bored dog?
It's entertainment. It is the canine equivalent of doom scrolling on your phone. It just fills the time.
Okay, but surely not every dog interacts with toys the same way. The research highlights these chewing personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is crucial because I have definitely bought the wrong toy for the wrong personality type before.
Oh, it's the #1 reason for vet visits related to foreign objects. You have to diagnose your dog's style. On one end of the spectrum, you have the passive chewers.
Okay.
These are the gentle souls. They carry a plush toy around for 3 years, maybe lick it a bit.
I have heard myths of these dogs. I've never actually owned one.
They're rare, but they exist. Then you have the moderate chewers. They might rip a soft toy eventually, but if you give them a rubber toy, they'll generally leave it intact. They aren't trying to destroy it, they're just playing.
And then there's the category that keeps veterinary surgeons in business.
The aggressive or power chewer, yes. These dogs view durability as a challenge. They want to dissect. They will gulp treats whole without tasting them. For this personality type, the margin for error is razor thin. If you buy a toy that isn't rated for their jaw strength, you aren't buying a toy, you are buying a medical emergency.
Speaking of emergencies, there's a rule in the data called the size rule. It seems obvious, don't give a big dog a tiny toy, but the reports suggest it's more nuanced than that.
It is. The rule is the toy must be bigger than the snout and wider than the mouth. If the entire object can fit inside the oral cavity, it's a choking hazard. But here's the scenario that catches people off guard. The multi-pet household.
Right, the Texas A&M notes made a big deal about this.
Because people forget the dynamics. You might have a Great Dane and a Chihuahua. You buy the safe giant rope for the Dane and the tiny rubber ball for the Chihuahuas. But dogs, well, dogs share.
So if the Great Dane decides to investigate the Chihuahua's toy,
Help. Exactly. That tiny ball is the perfect size to lodge in a large dog's throat or cause an intestinal blockage.
oof,
The takeaway here is really strict. If you have a size discrepancy in your pets, you cannot leave the small toys lying around. They have to be supervised play only, then packed away.
Okay, so we've got the size and the behavior down. Now I want to get into the materials. This is the part of the research that made me want to go home and throw out half my dog's toy bin. We talked about that regulatory gap. What exactly are we finding in these toys that shouldn't be there?
Because there's no agency banning certain substances, manufacturers, especially in mass-produced, cheaper, toys-use materials that are easy to work with but toxic to ingest. The big ones are phthalates and BPA.
I see BPA free on my own water bottle. I don't think I've ever looked for it on a squeaky bone.
You absolutely should. These chemicals are plasticizers. They're what make vinyl and plastic soft and jelly-like. The problem is, scientifically, they are endocrine disruptors.
Can you break that down? Endocrine disruptor sounds bad, but what does it actually do to the dog?
It means it interferes with their hormonal system. It mimics hormones in the body, which can lead to developmental issues, reproductive problems, and even metabolic changes. It's not that the dog chews it and drops dead instantly. It's a cumulative, long-term exposure.
It's a slow poison.
Precisely. And in the really cheap toys, often imported from places with zero oversight, we're seeing heavy metals, lead, cadmium.
Seriously.
These are used in the paint to make those bright neon colors we talked about, or sometimes they're just contaminants in the recycled plastics used to make the toy.
Lead in 2026.
It happens more than you think. And remember, a dog isn't just touching it. They are gnawing on it. Their saliva is breaking down the surface. They're essentially drinking a lead solution over time. That leads to nervous system damage.
So how do we defend against this? Because looking at a rubber bone, I can't see the lead.
You have to look at the label language. It's tricky because they aren't required to tell you what's in it. So you have to look for the positive claims. Look for food-grade rubber. Look for PVC-free.
Yeah. Okay.
And BPA-free. If a manufacturer has gone to the trouble of ensuring their product is free of these toxins, they will put it on the box. If the packaging is generic and just says dog toy, assume the worst.
Okay, so that's the chemical side. Now let's talk about the physical construction. I need to ask about rope toys. To me, a rope toy is the most classic dog toy imaginable. It seems so innocent. But the veterinary surgeons in our source material seem to view them as public enemy number one. Why?
Rope toys are deceptive. They look sturdy, but they fail in a very specific, catastrophic way. When a dog chews on a rope, it frays. They swallow those long strands. In the medical world, we call this a linear foreign body.
Which sounds like a boring medical term, but the description of what it does is horrifying.
It is arguably the worst kind of blockage. Imagine a pair of sweatpants with a drawstring. If you pull one end of the drawstring, the fabric bunches up, right?
Right.
That is what happens to the dog's intestines. The strand gets anchored somewhere, maybe in the stomach, and as the intestine tries to push it through, it bunches up the intestine like an accordion. This saws through the intestinal wall. It cuts off blood supply.
And I imagine that is incredibly difficult to spot on an X-ray.
That's the kicker. Cloth and string don't show up well on X-rays. So you have a sick dog, but you can't see the blockage clearly until it's a critical emergency.
So are we saying ban the rope toys?
We are saying change how you use them. Rope toys are for tug of war between you and the dog. They're interactive tools. They are not pacifiers to leave with the dog while you go to work.
Got it.
If you aren't holding the other end, the rope toy should be in the cupboard.
Interactive only. Okay, let's pivot to the hard stuff. I feel like for years, the advice for power chewers was get them a bone, get them an antler, get them something rock hard. But the dental specialists are pushing back on this. Hard.
There's a major conflict between durability and dental health. As an owner, you want a toy that lasts forever because it saves you money. But materials that last forever, antlers, hooves, hard nylon, are harder than the dog's tooth enamel.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. Wolves eat bones in the wild. Dogs are descended from wolves. Why can't my golden retriever chew a bone?
That is the most common objection I hear. Two things. First, wolves in the wild actually break their teeth all the time. They just don't have anyone to take them to the dentist.
Oh, good point.
Second, the bones you buy in a store dried, smoked, processed are significantly harder and more brittle than a fresh raw carcass a wolf might eat.
That makes sense. So the processing actually makes it more dangerous.
Exactly. When a dog chomps down on a rock-hard antler with full force, the energy has to go somewhere. If the antler doesn't give, the tooth does. We call it a slab fracture. It shears the side of the tooth right off.
Ouch.
It's incredibly painful and expensive to fix.
So give us the test. How do I know if a toy is too hard?
There are two tests you can do right in the aisle. First, the thumbnail test. Press your thumbnail into the toy. If you cannot leave a small indentation, it is too hard for your dog's teeth.
That is a strict standard. Most heavy-duty toys would fail that.
They would, and that's the risk assessment you have to make. The second one is the hammer test. If you were to hit the toy with a hammer, would the toy break or would the hammer bounce off? If you can't drive a nail through it, your dog shouldn't be grinding their teeth on it.
So that rules out antlers, hooves. What about rawhide? Rawhide feels like it's been controversial for a decade, but people still buy it by the truckload.
Rawhide is a double threat. It fails the hardness test often, but the bigger issue is digestion. Rawhide is essentially leather. It's a byproduct of the tannery industry. It doesn't dissolve in the stomach like food.
It just sits there.
It swells. If a dog swallows a large chunk, it becomes a gelatinous blockage that can't pass. And frankly, the chemical processing involved in turning a cowhide into a white bone involves bleach and glues that you really don't want in your dog.
Okay, and quickly pig ears. They seem softer.
Softer, yes. But pig ears are basically pure grease. They are a one-way ticket to pancreatitis, which is a severe, painful inflammation caused by high-fat foods. Plus, the surface area of a pig ear is a breeding ground for salmonella.
Yikes.
So you're risking a sick dog and a contaminated house?
It sounds like we're emptying the toy basket here. But before we move to food, there was a specific note for the very young and the very old.
Yes, the senior puppy factor. This is crucial. Puppies have deciduous teeth, baby teeth that are fragile. Seniors often have dental disease or worn enamel. For these two groups, you have to ignore the durability marketing entirely.
So what do we get them?
Stick to soft rubber, plush toys, supervised, and things that have a lot of give. No hard nylons ever for these guys.
Okay, let's transition to the other way we spoil our pets. Food, specifically treats. I think this is where the guilt factor really kicks in for listeners. We have some math from the nutritional sources that honestly blew my mind.
The calorie math. This is the hardest thing for humans to grasp because we project our own caloric scale onto our pets.
Right. I eat a cookie, it's 100 calories, it's nothing.
Exactly. But let's take a small dog, say a 10-pound terrier. Their daily requirement might be around 300 to 400 calories total. If you give them one bacon strip type treat or a dental stick that is 100 calories, you have just given them 25% to 30% of their daily food in one bite.
That is the equivalent of me eating, 3 Big Macs as a snack?
Basically, yes. And we do this 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Then we wonder why obesity is the #1 health issue in pets. We are loving them to death with calories.
So what is the ratio? What is the golden rule here?
The veterinary standard is the 90-10 rule. 90% of your dog's calories must come from their complete balanced dog food, the kibble or the wet food that has all the vitamins. Treats should never, ever exceed 10%.
That is a tiny amount.
It is. And you have to watch out for the marketing traps. You see bags labeled light or low calorie. The sources point out that light is a relative term. It might be lighter than the original version, but still calorie dense. You have to ignore the front of the bag and turn it over. Look at the kcal per treat number.
Let's talk about that ingredient list too. If I'm holding a bag of treats, what are the words that should make me put it back on the shelf?
You want to be a specific snob. If you see vague terms like meat derivatives, poultry meal, or vegetable byproducts, walk away.
Why? Isn't meat?
Not necessarily. Meat derivative means it could be anything. It could be cow, pig, goat, processed parts from the rendering plant. If your dog has an allergy, you have no way of knowing what's in there. You want to see chicken, beef liver, sweet potato, specific ingredients.
Transparency is key.
Also, watch out for sweeteners. Manufacturers add sugar to treats to make them hyperpalatable, just like human junk food. Look for sucrose, fructose, corn syrup. Dogs do not need sugar.
Right.
It contributes to diabetes and dental rot. And absolutely avoid the artificial sweeteners like xylitol, sometimes called birch sugar, or sorbitol. Xylitol is deadly toxic to dogs.
One trend I have seen everywhere is freeze-dried raw treats. People love them because they're single ingredient, just freeze-dried liver, for example. But the reports had a warning label on this.
They did. While nutritionally they're often better than a biscuit full of fillers, the risk is bacterial. Because it's raw, it hasn't been cooked to kill pathogens. We're talking salmonella and E. coli.
But dogs have strong stomachs, right? Can't they handle it?
Often, yes, though not always. But the bigger risk identified in the study is to you. You reach into the bag, you touch the raw liver, then you rub your eye or make a sandwich.
Oh, cross-contamination.
Cross-contamination from freeze-dried treats is a significant cause of human illness. If you use them, you have to treat them like raw chicken wash your hands every single time.
Okay, so we've eliminated the rock-hard bones, the toxic rubber, the fatty pig ears. and the sugary treats. I feel like I've just told everyone to starve their dogs. What can we give them? What are the yes items?
This is the good news. The best treats are often already in your fridge. We call them the green options.
Human food.
Safe human food, baby carrots,
Oh.
green beans, blueberries, apple slices, just without the seeds.
My dog actually goes crazy for a frozen green bean. It's weirdly effective.
It's the crunch. They want the texture. Green beans are essentially 0 calories for a dog. You can give them 20 green beans and not break that 10% rule. It's the perfect volume snack.
Just to be super clear, what is the no list for human food?
Grapes and raisins are the big ones. They cause acute kidney failure, and we don't know the toxic dose, so even one can be dangerous.
Wow.
Onions and garlic cause anemia, and obviously chocolate and macadamia nuts are out.
Now, I want to end on a concept that came up in the behavior notes, enrichment. The idea that maybe handing the dog a treat for doing nothing is, well, a missed opportunity.
This is the concept of contra-freeloading. Studies show that many animals actually prefer to work for their food rather than having it handed to them. It engages their brain.
So instead of just tossing a biscuit, make a game of it.
Exactly. Use a fabric mat where you hide the food in the fringes. Use a puzzle toy where they have to slide the lever to get the treat. You're feeding the dogs need to investigate. A biscuit is gone in 1 second. A puzzle toy lasts 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes of a happy, engaged dog.
I saw a great hack for the budget-conscious listener in the VCA source, too.
The regular food hack. If your dog is food motivated, stop buying treats entirely. Take a handful of their morning kibble, put it in a baggie, and use that for training. They often don't know the difference.
That's a genius.
You're taking from that 90% pile of good calories, so you don't have to worry about weight gain.
And one final tip for the power chewers.
The frozen Kong. Take a hollow rubber toy, stuff it with wet dog food or some pumpkin puree, and freeze it rock solid. It takes them 45 minutes to lick it out. It's soothing, safe, and keeps them busy.
And for dental chews, because I know people buy those specifically for teeth cleaning.
Look for the VOHC seal. That stands for the Veterinary Oral Health Council. If a product has that seal, it means it's actually been proven to help with oral health.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground.
Yeah.
If you are listening to this and eyeing your dog's toy basket with deep suspicion, that is probably a good thing.
It is. A little paranoia is healthy here.
So let's recap the big takeaways. First, the tests. Use the thumbnail test. If you can't dent it, it's too hard.
Second, the math. The 90-10 rule. Keep the treats to 10% of their intake.
And third, be a label detective. Look for PVC-free. Look for specific meats and avoid the meat derivatives.
Absolutely.
So here's your call to action. As soon as this deep dive ends, go audit your pet's stuff. Dump the toy basket out on the floor.
Throw out the fraying ropes. Throw out the rock-hard bones. Check the treat ingredients. If it looks like a chemistry experiment, toss it.
It's a small effort that can save you a massive vet bill, and more importantly, it keeps your buddy safe.
And I want to leave everyone with one final thought. We often use treats to show love. We think, I love you, here's a cookie. But remember what we started with. Investigation is a dog's primary joy.
Right. The scientist mindset.
So ask yourself, could a safe, challenging puzzle toy actually be a better treat for their brain than a biscuit is for their belly? Are we feeding the stomach or are we feeding the dog?
That is a great question to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Go give your pets a scratch behind the ears from us and maybe a green bean.
Safe playing, everyone.